Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's that time yet again. It's The Wire on Wednesday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the NFL edition this week because we only get this week and then possibly next week of NFL stuff. And then after that, because in 2 weeks, the Super Bowl is going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. And you know who's going to be playing in the Super Bowl? It's going to be TB12 versus the young TB12, which is Pat Mahomes. You got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing the Kansas City Chiefs. And guess what? First team ever to host a Super Bowl in their stadium. It will be in Tampa Bay. So it's some great stuff. But before we get to that, we got some other news to talk about. I want to talk about possibly Deshaun Watson trade. I'm going to leave it up to the panel. If we can talk about that, we can talk about that. Also, Matthew Stafford being traded away from the Lions. I think that's something interesting that we can talk about. Did Aaron Rodgers play his last game in Lambeau Field for the Green Bay Packers? I know I want to kick it around to my gentleman for that as well. What's next for the Saints? Drew Brees is going to retire. What's next for the Colts? You know that there is no more of Phillip Rivers in Indy. So what's going on there? And then obviously we've got a plethora of other teams and other topics that we can talk about. But I'm going to kick it off to Justin really quick. I know that you've got a couple stories that you'd like to kick around the panel. Hopefully it's one of the ones that I have here, but we'll see. Go ahead and take it away.
Absolutely. I mean, there's just one thing that I felt like we could talk about before we get real into the meat of the playoffs and how that's turning out. You mentioned it. Detroit Lions, well, we know they just had a head coach change. They went to Dan Campbell. Response to that, Matt Stafford comes out and says, I don't know if I want to play for this organization anymore. What do the Lions say? We don't want you to. So trades offered. It's in progress, right, Richie? You told me pre-show it is now in progress. It's confirmed.
Yeah, absolutely confirmed. They are looking to shop him. It's been a mutual decision. So it's a matter of who's looking for him. Are people looking for him? And should people be looking for him?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the real question that I'd like to send to all of you because, and I'm just gonna say it to me, Matthew Stafford, and a lot of folks, a lot of the fan base is gonna say this has been a Detroit thing. Detroit's holding Matthew Stafford back from his true potential. Detroit has not let him shine the way he should. If he was in a better organization, he would do better. I'm sorry, he's just an okay. He's better than average. He's not a TB12. He's not a Ben Roethlisberger. He's not even, he's not even in the conversation with any of these greats that we have been watching play football. He's been playing in Detroit and he's been playing Detroit football because he belongs there. Should teams, my question for you is, should they be lining up for Matt Stafford, or does anybody else on this panel have any sense in understanding that he's really not all of that? I mean, there are teams that could definitely use him. And I will say there should be, in my opinion, teams lining up for him because he is better than average, but he is not. I'm just going to shut down the theory before it gets tossed back in my face. He is not somebody who would be on the all-time great list if he had been somewhere else. He would have been in the same situation he is.
I'll start first. Screw this. This is blasphemous. I said this at the start. This is blasphemous, fans, before this show started. And I know not everyone on the panel agrees with me, but let's just do some quick math. All right. I'm not going to argue Tom Brady, but you can't compare Tom Brady to any quarterback, and we'll get to that later. But let's use some common sense. I just heard the words Ben Roethlisberger. How dare you even? First of all, Ben Roethlisberger is not going to be considered an all-time great. So if the goal is talking about all-time great, you crazy, man. Like, let's put it this way. Ben Roethlisberger, we'll compare him specifically just because you wanted to mention Ben. Ben has a 94 QBR rating. Now, in Matt Stafford's rookie year, which, just to clarify, that team went 3-13. So he was thrown in as a rookie. and not a good team, unlike Ben Roethlisberger. And he had a 61 rating season. Now this tanks his average. So if we're at least willing to concede that he got put in a horrible situation his first season and remove that from his play, let's look at Ben and Matt. Oh wait, we take that out of the equation. We're looking at a 93 to a 94 career. Ben's 1 point higher than him. Now, who has Matthew Stafford ever played with? We already know the only answer. Megatron. Don't get me wrong. Megatron is better than any individual wide receiver Ben Roethlisberger has ever had. But we talked about this on the wire multiple times. The Steelers are a wide receiver machine. They draft wide receivers that are incredible. They let them get good. They want the money, and then they ship them out and get another one. And it's just been history. It's been that way his entire career. I have never seen Ben, and somebody will find a season because the dude's been playing for like 50 years, but I have never seen Ben not have 2 quality wide receivers. And when I say quality, I mean guys that are getting 1,000-yard seasons. It's always happened. Now you take, even with Megatron when he gets injured, if you take those seasons into factor, he's only had a wide receiver that's posted 1,000 or more yards on 7 of his 12 seasons, Matthew Stafford. Okay? The best his team, the Detroit Lions, have ever done in his 12 years is ranked 7th as an offense. And that was with arguably one of the greatest wide receivers of all time. The best rushing they've ever averaged, ever in 12 years, was the 12th best rushing attack. He has not had teams worth a damn. Okay? And you're comparing him to what I consider one of the better teams of all time. Regardless of the franchise, I'm talking about when they're playing. When Ben was playing and when Stafford is playing, that's a joke, right? Honestly, even if you compare the Cincinnati Bengals to the Lions during this period of time, that's a joke.
How is it a joke? How is it a joke, Richie? He's played for 12 seasons. Matthew Stafford's played for 12 seasons. He's earned 1 Pro Bowl. Big Ben has played for 16 seasons and he's been in 6 of them.
16 seasons and he's been in 6. Okay, who's Matthew Stafford's competition? And who's Ben Roethlisberger's competition?
For the Pro Bowl?
Yes, for the Pro Bowl. We're talking about Pro Bowl, as if Pro Bowl matters. But since you're bringing up Pro Bowl as a statistic, please tell me who's been in the AFC and who's been in the NFC.
Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
Russell Wilson.
Yep.
I need to stop there because that's your 3 starting quarterbacks right there.
You can, I was gonna say, you can stop if you want to, but there are plenty of quarterbacks. And honestly, Colin Kaepernick won 2 for 2 years. Because here's the thing, Justin, Pro Bowls are dictated by winning. So again, that's a terrible argument and a terrible flaw. They don't pick statistic players. It doesn't matter. And statistically, Matthew Stafford with nobody had the exact same stats as Ben Roethlisberger has. And again, am I saying Matthew Stafford therefore is just better than Ben Roethlisberger? No, that's not my argument. But my point is very simple, that you cannot talk about a guy and say he's a scrub when he's played with scrubs. This guy's incredible. Now, unfortunately, he's 32 years old and we don't know how much longer his career is going to be, but I still think he's got at least 6 years. This dude tore his shoulder out of its socket, played the next play, won the game on a fucking touchdown, okay? Like, no, don't get me wrong, Ben's done great stuff as well. And this isn't supposed to be Ben versus Matthew Stafford, but my point is the dude has a rifle. Okay, now what he doesn't do, he has no pocket presence and he can't scramble. There's plenty of ways we can analytically argue this, but this dude is one of the best quarterbacks to never get anywhere. And the argument to me is he's more like he's not a winner. He's not a proven commodity in that sense. He's never won a playoff game. I believe he's been to 3. So that's, to me, that's the better argument. But this dude is a cannon. I mean, I think he's averaging what, like 4,300 yards per season? With nobody? With nobody. Come on, man. Nobody. Megatron's only at least half of those yards, right? Half of those yards. Where the other yards coming from, man? Like, he's not been blessed. Like, the only person, and again, let's go back to it real quick, that's just phenomenal and makes shit work is Tom Brady. That dude never had anybody, and he still made it happen. But when you start talking about Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, you had guys that statistically led the league in their positions outside of the quarterback. And on their offense, I'm not going to get into their defense, right? That's not even the point of the argument. The offense, is this guy worth it? I believe this guy is at least a top 8 quarterback. And that, when we're talking young dudes that are still killing it, absolutely killing it, Josh Allen's, etc. Now, I get a little leeway here because Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers just retired. And who knows, if Tom Brady wins this, he's probably retiring, but we'll see. So I've talked enough, but my point is very simple. Matthew Stafford on another team, maybe you're talking about an 8-time Pro Bowler. I can't sit here and say how many playoff wins he'd win. Who knows? But I think he'd be like 8 Pro Bowls out of 12. This guy is incredible. He's done a lot with nothing, kind of like LeBron James. He's throwing up all these crazy stats, and even when he had nobodies, he'd at least try his best to carry those teams. And let's not forget, for about 5 years, they were a winning football team. The problem is they took Matt Patricia, that fucking idiot, and then they had him be the coach for 3 years. They went from, 9-7 and 9-7 in the 2 years where they ended up terminating Jim Caldwell, to going to Matt Patricia. And I think he won 6 games in fucking 3 years. That's the reason that team sucks. And they wasted Matt Stafford's good years. I mean, the dude still has something, but he's going to need to be on a seasoned team. He won't succeed on a rebuild. Then not worth the trade.
All right, Marvin, the question was, should Matt Stafford have teams lining up at the door for him? Should teams, and my statement, Richie, and we won't go there because Richie, I think Tony could have kept going down that list and just proven my point. I said he's slightly above average. We're looking at a pack of talented quarterbacks. Marvin, have at it.
Slightly above average is if you're being nice. No team should line up at the door for Matt Stafford. Are you kidding me, Richie? Okay, you're right. You're correct. He does have an arm. He does have a rifle. He can throw the ball downfield, but he's not necessarily the most accurate quarterback in the league. This man can't get you to the postseason. This man is taking the Lions to the postseason 3 times, and they lost every single time. He has a career record of 68 and 78 and 1 tie over an 8-year span. Was that an 8-year span? How long has he been with the Lions? Somebody tell me.
12 years.
12 years with the Lions. So you mean to tell me in those 12 years, he couldn't get you 1 playoff victory? Not 1? That can't be the coach's fault. That's not Jim Caldwell's fault. That's not Jim Schwartz's fault. That is on Matt Stafford. And I'm not about to sit here and act like he didn't play with talent for the last 3 years. You can't knock Kenny Galladay. You can't knock Danny Amendola. You can't knock Marvin Jones Jr. You can't knock any of those guys. Yeah, were they absent of a running game? But there's plenty of quarterbacks in this league who've done more with less. So there really hasn't been an excuse for Matt Stafford other than the fact that he has taken a beating in the last 12 years. Playing in that division, playing in the cold on the road, messed up thumb, messed up back. The dude takes a beating. So at this point, he's got declining skills. We clearly saw that this year. He didn't finish the season, just injury riddled. And, I just feel like he was declining for the last 3 years, if you ask me. I mean, he just hasn't taken the Lions anywhere, and that's not necessarily on the coaching staff. I mean, you got to look at the quarterback. The quarterback's the leader. And Matt Stafford, even though he has an arm, like we said, I mean, I would put slightly above average, but that's it. Like, he's nothing to write home about. He's not a guy that's going to take your team to the postseason. Yeah, is he going to make your team better? But are you really looking at him and you're saying, like, this guy's going to take you to a Super Bowl? I don't think so. If I was any team right now, I think he'd be the least of my worries, because, like I said, his body is taking a beating. He's over 30 now, so I just don't see him getting any better. I mean, he throws a lot of picks. When you can see some Sundays where he throws 3 or 4 touchdowns, but he'll have a Sunday where he give you 3 or 4 picks. Absolutely. And that's on a consistent 12-year basis.
He has a 2% at career average for interceptions. That's actually not high at all. To give you an example, Ben Roethlisberger is at 3.8.
Tony,
that's still a lot of picks compared to touchdowns. That's still a lot of picks compared to touchdowns.
It's not
and you can't say he didn't work with nothing.
You're killing me.
Tony, your rebuttal, and then we'll go to Sahe with a question.
All right. So, listen, I think we're getting off track of what the question was, which was, would any team be willing to go after Matthew Stafford? And the question is, there's 32 other teams. 32 other teams that don't have a Tom Brady. 32 other teams that don't even have their franchise figured out right now. They have people put in place that aren't doing diddly squat. You're telling me that Matthew Stafford you wouldn't give a shot to, but you'd give Jimmy Garoppolo a shot? You're telling me that Matthew Stafford you'd give a shot to, you wouldn't give a shot to, but you
Jimmy Garoppolo a shot over Matthew
Drew Lock
Stafford.
A shot over Matthew Stafford? Drew Lock.
Not Drew Lock. That's
Carson,
okay, that's not fair. That's not a fair
Carson Wentz.
It is a fair
Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz.
Touche.
Nick Foles.
You mean to tell me the Bears?
Okay, if the question is Carson Wentz or Nick Foles, that question is bull jive anyway.
Well, I'm just saying there's 32 other teams, and I'm just saying there's a shot for Matthew Stafford outside of the Detroit Lions. You're telling me you'd rather play Cam Newton over Matthew Stafford?
I'm not so sure at this point. I'm really not so sure at this point, Tony.
How can you say that with a straight face, Marvin?
Because, Cam Newton's playing with even less than Matthew Stafford. Who is Cam Newton throwing the ball to? He's throwing it to you and me.
But it's the system. It's the system.
He's throwing it to Richie, Sahe. He's throwing it to literally guys that you know at the deli.
Marvin, you had to watch those games. He's overthrowing his targets by 10 plus yards. His shoulder is still injured. He needs time to recover. Like, come on.
You've seen his receivers drop balls. Look at Jacoby Myers. These receivers just been dropping balls all year. Some games haven't even been Cam's fault. He actually tried. Like, he's got nothing. Matt Stafford's got at least 3 weapons. So what's been his excuse? Why do we make excuses for Matt Stafford? I've been wanting to ask that for years. Why do we do that?
We're making excuses for Matt Stafford?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
I just don't understand why.
I'm not making an excuse for Matthew Stafford. I'm understanding the talent that Matthew Stafford is, and that the question that was brought up was, is he above average or below average? And would any team go after him? And I'm saying that teams would go after Matthew Stafford because of the caliber of talent that he is. Yes, he plays for the Detroit Lions. Yes, the Detroit Lions have failed that. But guess what? You brought up a statistic. He took them to the playoffs 3 times. He didn't win a game. Some quarterbacks haven't even taken their team to the playoffs, and they still get an opportunity to play. Jameis Winston started. Should he have been allowed to start? Hell no, he shouldn't have been allowed to start, but he started. Oh, but he can make big plays. Well, guess what? He can throw away big plays as well. Brett Favre is predominantly known for being a great quarterback, but he turned the ball over. Yeah, he was a gunslinger. Aaron Rodgers, the greatest quarterback of all times. Well, guess what? Aaron Rodgers hasn't been to a Super Bowl since 2011. The same with Ben Roethlisberger. So my question is Matthew Stafford is not the same tier as Tom Brady. Yes, we already know that. We can scratch that. Let's move on. Is Matthew Stafford in the second tier when it comes to Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers and all these other quarterbacks? No, he's not in that as well. But that's only a select few that's in that one. Russell Wilson, I would also put up there. Patrick Mahomes, I also would put in tier 2. He will elevate to tier 1. But Matthew Stafford is definitely in tier 3. He's not in tier 4. He's not in tier 5, but he's in tier 3. I can go through and name and the starting quarterbacks for all 32 teams. You know where Matthew Stafford would land? He would land in the 12th spot. The 12th spot. Because there's a plethora of other quarterbacks that aren't on Matthew Stafford's level. And for him to be on that level and to play for the Detroit Lions is astonishing to me. There is no excuse. For him to put up the numbers that he's put up and played for the Detroit Lions, game's over. The game is over. There's no excuse for Ben Roethlisberger to play at the caliber that he's playing and suck. You're telling me you had AB, LB, all these other players, and you couldn't even go to the Super Bowl once? Once? That is bullshit. Aaron Rodgers. No, he doesn't have the defense. He doesn't have a running game. Oh, he's got the running game, but he doesn't have the wide receivers. Then he has a wide receiver that does something, and then he can't even get there. We keep making excuses for Matthew Stafford, but it seems like we keep making excuses for these elite quarterbacks we call elite that can't really get there. Tom Brady's the real deal. No excuses. We don't even have to say excuses. Pat Mahomes, the real deal. We don't even have to say excuses. Matthew Stafford is being played out to be the bad guy, when in reality, to me, he has the talent. He just hasn't been able to showcase it the way that he needs to showcase it because we all look down at the Lions. Joe Burrow, think about this. 5 years from now, we're going to be having the same conversation, hopefully, on The Wire. 5 years from now, we'll have that conversation about Joe Burrow playing for the Bengals. Because he is going to be an elite quarterback at an elite level, but he won't get the recognition because of the city that he plays for. That's all I got to say.
Quick question, Tony, because this is one of the actual questions. Should teams be lining up for Matt Stafford?
Absolutely. Washington should be lining up. New England should be lining up. Hell, the Jaguars should be lining up unless they make a first-round pick. If they do a first-round pick, then no, you don't need Matthew Stafford. Or you can pay him for a 1-2 year and let the person that you draft kind of transition so you don't have to damage him right out of the gates. There's a lot of plays that can happen. I'm telling you, the Colts can do it. Sahe said that earlier. There's options for Matthew Stafford, yes. Hell, He could go to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they could probably get better results out of Matthew Stafford than they did from Ben Roethlisberger.
Okay. Oh man. Well, I'm gonna send the question over to you, Sahe, but I do just want to point out, because I know where you're standing on this. I can see it in your face how you've been reacting. I just want to point out, even Tony had to agree with me, right? He said there was 5 tiers of quarterbacks, and where did you put him, Tony? You put him in tier 3, and where did I say he was? Slightly above average, top of tier 3. Sahe, should they be lining up for him? And is he overrated? I mean, that's what we're really talking about. Is he overrated? Should this list be as long as every analyst and every fan for either of these teams, any of these teams, are making it? They're making it long. I mean, look at Tony. He's talking about Pittsburgh drafting this guy. I want to take steps forward with my team, but let's go. Sahe, what do you think?
Man, listening to you guys bring up some good points, right? He hasn't done anything. He hasn't won any games. So you can't really put him up into the elite category. But he has tremendous talent. But he plays for a horrible team and a horrible organization that fires their coach every 2 to 3 years. They don't have a defense. Matthew Stafford is just good enough for them to win some games, so they don't have like an extremely top pick year in and year out. So they're not getting the best rookies. They never do it. You never hear them sign any top free agents because their owners aren't spending the money. So it's really tough to say, but I feel like talent-wise, just strictly talent, he's one of the top. He's up there with Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers. Talent-wise, I feel like if you switch Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford this year, the Rams are they might be in the Super Bowl right now. If you think about it, I heard you guys bring up the Bears. I wouldn't go that far, but Matthew Stafford, he's the real deal. Teams are going to be lining up for him. He's got a lot of options.
I think there's at least 12 teams that would easily say, I need this guy, that don't have a better option.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not including Pittsburgh, by the way.
Absolutely.
Nonetheless.
Absolutely.
At least 12 teams. Yeah. 12 out of 32 teams could use him right now.
Today.
And that's not including, if, save a draft pick, do something else. I'm not even including that. Otherwise, it'd probably be closer to 15 or 16. Almost half the league.
And Sahe said something that was really important that I need everybody to pick up on. He said that the Detroit Lions, they win enough games not to get a good pick. Well, guess what? New England didn't win. They won enough games. They went to the Super Bowl. They always had the last pick, right? It's what you do with the pick. right? So to Sahe's point, the Lions themselves have failed themselves. They failed Matthew Stafford. They failed that organization because they've not been able to draft correctly. To get to Richie's point, that's exactly what the Steelers do. They draft what they need, period. To Justin's point, I'm just saying that Matthew Stafford is, 9 years younger than Ben Roethlisberger. You've got a talented quarterback that can actually still move around when our quarterback is talented but doesn't move around. All I'm saying is I'd rather take my shot with something different if we're going to rebuild and not have to restart the mold from somebody young. Is he better than Mason Rudolph? Hell yes. Is he better than Duck Hodges? Hell yes. Is he better than Haskins that they brought in from Washington? Hell yes. I would just take a shot with a quarterback that's in that tier 3 that will get you some games. Detroit have kept Matthew Stafford there to fill seats because they want money. The fans will pay for it because Matthew Stafford's the quarterback. End of story, period, exclamation, go.
I'm just saying, look what the young, I got you.
Saying.
It's all you, Marvin. Just look what the young cats are doing these days, though, man. Look what they're doing.
Okay, you just said it. All these teams would be the first in line for this type of quarterback. That these franchises, all the franchises you named off, Tony, they need a quarterback. But how do you invest in a guy with such an extensive injury history? When you look at the tail of the tape, his body is breaking down. How do you trust that? How do you trust that going for a full NFL season when you know he hasn't played one in years? He has not played a full NFL season. Look at his injury history. Back tailbone fracture, 2019. Hand finger dislocation, 2016. Broken finger, 2011. Broken ankle sprain, 2011. AC shoulder joint separation, 2010. The list goes on. There's 6 more injuries after this. His body is breaking down. So how do you invest in a franchise quarterback when you know he's close to being done?
I'll tell you this. It's the NFL. People get hurt. Tom Brady's been injured, but it's come back. Drew Brees has been injured this season. He came back. Matthew Stafford got a concussion, went out, hurt himself, broken toe, whatever else, came back, won it. AFC Championship, going to the Super Bowl. It's the NFL, ladies and gentlemen. People are going to get hurt. Ben Roethlisberger's broken jaws, broken hands, broken shoulders, broken knees, broken whatever, still coming out and playing. You got to do what you got to do. It is what it is. You got to pay that man to play in the NFL because he's putting his body on the line. It's where the gladiators show up day in and day out. I would invest because you're going to invest in it anyway. Go ahead, Richie.
I gotta say something. This is not to just disagree with Marvin because I agree with Marvin. I agree over the last 2 years he's been injured. I disagree with his career. He's only 2 seasons. He basically didn't play full. He didn't start his rookie year, but he played all the 10 games when he did play. He got injured in his second year. And the only other time he hasn't played a full 16 game was 2019. Now 2020, he's been absolutely injured. I agree with you, but injured completely with almost nobodies. I agree with you. Marvin Jones actually isn't that bad, Marvin. I think he's a decent wide receiver. Having said that, completely injured. We can all agree with that. 4,100 yards with less than 2% interception ratio at a 5% touchdown throw. When he was absolutely injured, hobbled leg, completely shouldered out. The injury in 2011, he had 5,000 yards, 41 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. When he's injured, he still performs. I agree with Marvin though. This dude always gets banged around. Well, like to Tony's point, in these draft situations, he gets banged around because they don't draft a line. He honestly, the only person I think has, and I didn't look this up. I apologize, guys. Normally I try to look at stats. I believe outside of maybe David Carr, he's probably the next guy that's been sacked the most in his career. Let's be honest here. That's why he's always getting hit. He is always getting hit. I agree with you. And you can also blame him because he could throw the ball away more, and he's not. But my point is, he's absolutely an Iron Man. I agree with Marvin. He is, the last 2 years, he's gotten hurt. But having said that, he still threw for 4,100 yards, with one shoulder and one knee. I mean, if that doesn't speak at less than 2% interception ratio, that's insane when you consider he's injured. Ben Roethlisberger couldn't do that in a healthy year. He averages 3.5. He's almost at 4. Come on. You know, like, and again, I'm going to say this to Pittsburgh. I hate Pittsburgh. I want y'all to lose. Please pick Mason over this guy. But if you give this guy a chance, they might at least win a playoff game. They might beat the Browns next year. How about that? That'd be nice, right? I think he could at least get him to beat the Browns. He's not good enough to get him to beat Kansas City. I'll say that right now. But you know what? Trying to win is better than doing nothing. And there are at least 12 to 15 teams who he could at least give them a chance to win over this. Let's look at the NFC East. Dak Prescott is the only one you could easily argue, wait a second, right? Easily. Now he's injured, but he's the only one. If you look at the Redskins, you look at the Eagles, and you look at the Giants, you really mean to tell me you take Daniel Jones over Matthew Stafford? Are you kidding me? That dude can't even hold the football when he's running in the open field. He almost fumbled. He tripped on his feet, almost dropped the fucking ball, okay? We don't even need to talk about the Redskins. Alex, you want to talk about somebody being injured? Alex Smith can't even walk, dude. His wife carries him through the house, okay? There are so many teams that just have garbage. And again, maybe to Marvin's point and to Justin's point, well, Matthew Stafford's kind of garbage and it's not going to improve. But this is a game of trying to fucking win. And Tony said it best. The Lions only kept this poor bastard to keep butts in the seats because once Megatron was there and once Megatron left, they had nothing left to sell except Matt Stafford. And honestly, Detroit, the city of Detroit deserves better. This used to be a franchise that, wait, actually, no, it's not. Barry Sanders is the only reason that franchise was ever relevant, and they've always sucked. But you know what? They got to do something. Everyone deserves a new break. This organization is terrible. Honestly, the only organization that compares to it, in my opinion, are the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm even gonna give the Cleveland Browns a break because at least they were an expansion team trying to get better. Detroit's never tried to get better. They had Barry Sanders, motherfucker, retired because he'd rather sit at home than take the beatings he got. And Matthew Stafford said, you know what? I'm going to take these beatings because it's $40 million. I don't blame the guy, all right? Different times, I'm sure if Barry Sanders could run for $40 million, he would do it. But this dude is not a scrub. We don't agree, but all I can tell you is statistically, he's a monster. Whether or not that translates to wins, which is some people's points, is up for debate. But the bottom line is there are not many guys in this league outside of Aaron Rodgers that have a better interception ratio than this guy. And that's saying something when, in my opinion, he's had garbage. Marvin may disagree. Outside of Megatron and maybe Marvin Jones, I think it's been garbage for 12 years. And he still has one of the highest career small interception ratios at, what was it? I want to be very accurate when I say this. 2.3 for his career. When he had a 5.3 in his rookie year, you take that out, he's at 1.75. That's fucking insane.
Well fought, everybody. Sahe, the fact of the matter is he is up for grabs. Real quick, hot take before we go, or not even a hot take, but your take before we go. Who needs him the most? Who needs Matt Stafford?
I'm gonna go with the Saints. Even though I would hate to see him down there, they need somebody down there that can throw the ball. Jameis Winston isn't the answer. Neither is Taysom Hill, sadly.
Go ahead. You guys like that take? We got a couple.
I think it's a great take, but just for the sake of the argument, the only other one I think would be super solid, well, two, Chicago Bears or Indianapolis Colts. For me, the Saints, I think, is the best pick, but they're $90 million over the cap. So I don't know how they would make it work when Stafford's owed $40 million. So I think more likely the Colts and the Bears would have a shot. But honestly, New Orleans, that's all they need is a quarterback. If they could find a way to finagle Stafford, and they always find a way with their bullshit cap stuff, I think that's the best fit for it is New Orleans.
Tony Ray?
Yeah, I agree with Richie. Definitely the Colts. It would be a dream come true to see him play for the Saints. The Colts make the most sense. Washington will probably be the team that goes after him the most because Snyder, he always tries to, he's got the money to make things happen. But Washington football team would actually be the worst pick for Stafford, in my opinion. He might as well stay with the Detroit Lions. But it would be Colts for me, or, you could see him go to New England.
Marvin, what do you think?
I I'm gonna agree with Sahe, and I hate to say this, Tony, but I might have to disagree with you about Washington. I think Matt Stafford would actually be a great fit in Washington because you got Terry McLaurin out there. He's a premier wide receiver in this league, going to be one of the best in this league one day. You can book that. And then you got a budding rookie in Antonio Gibson. So they got a running game. You got some weapons out there. It would be a fit. You definitely, I feel like Matt Stafford would take him to the postseason. But I feel like he's a better fit in New Orleans. I mean, you got Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara there, and you got some weapons still on the outside, Emmanuel Sanders. I think that'd be the best fit for him to go to pick up where the Saints want to leave off.
Absolutely. Well, don't go anywhere. You're watching The Wire. When we come back, we're going to talk about what's going on with the rest of this season. Don't go anywhere.
Marvin, you know that's blasphemy, the Washington football team. They can't even come up with a name. They can't even come up with a name. They had to put the Washington football
Marvin,
team.
Don't put that in there. They might call them the Whiteskins after this. Don't do it.
Oh my.
Hey there, it's Justo from the H2G podcast.
Hello there.
Are you ready for season 4?
Yeah.
I love the way it sounds.
Gotta get my meatwad voice ready.
This season will be bigger and better than ever.
But thank you, man. I'll take it. It's good to see you.
Catch the H2G podcast season 4, Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern on Facebook and YouTube.
Oh, the best part of my week.
And don't miss The Wire every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
It's been a long time coming.
We'll see y'all next week.
Welcome
Welcome
to the H2G
to the H2G
To the H2G
podcast.
We'll see you there.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Wire. Thank you for rejoining us. We are going to get into the games that just happened this past weekend. Oh boy. Let me just tell you, the game that we were playing, we played Pick'em. Okay, we've been playing it the last couple of weeks. And I'm going to tell you that Justin, Marvin, Richie, and I all picked the Packers to beat the Buccaneers. We all know that Sahe would have picked the Buccaneers to beat the Packers, so I had to give Sahe a point, and we all lost, so we didn't get anything on that. And then we had the Chiefs and the Bills. You had Justin, me, and Marvin pick the Chiefs. Richie wanted to play the odd man out and pick the Bills. And at the beginning of the game, I was thinking to myself, damn it, Richie knows what's going on. And then at the end of the game, I was like, that's what I thought. Ladies and gentlemen, the Buccaneers put up 31 points. The Packers only put up 26. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to the Super Bowl. It's going to happen in Tampa Bay. Tom Brady is going to be there. The 10th appearance in a Super Bowl. I don't even know what to say. We'll move past that real quick. The Bills, Chiefs. Bills scored 24 points. Chiefs scored 38 points. Like I said, in the beginning, it was 9-0. I thought it was going to be over, but somehow the Chiefs made it happen. Real quick, going around the room, Richie, tell me what happened in this game, Buccaneers, Packers. What's your takeaway?
Well, actually, I talked to Sahe about this a lot, and he's more of the professional when it comes to Tampa Bay. But to me, this is coaching. This was coaching. You can't let Shaq Barrett run free like that. Now, and it's really disappointing when you look at Green Bay. The previous game, they did a great job with the Rams, but guess what? Aaron Donald was injured, and the Rams' specialty is right up the middle. That's where their pressure was, and those guards held up great. But I'm telling you, those Green Bay tackles did not hold up great. They let Aaron Rodgers get mauled, and to me, that was part of the story. Is the coaches, not the tackles. When you are outclassed as a coach, you have to pivot and strategize and make calls to avoid those situations. And LaFleur did not do that. In addition to that, quick take, 3 interceptions, 3 turnovers, 6 points. The Buccaneers scored 14 points off turnovers. That truly is the difference in the game. You look at Tom Brady, an incredible first half. You look at Rodgers, he had a great second half, but we also go back to that last little moment there with LaFleur. They're at the goal line. Packers, historically great this year at the goal line. I think 82% conversion of touchdown in the red zone. They're at the goal line. Third down. Aaron Rodgers has an opportunity to try to make a break for it, maybe, run in there, who knows, or at least get some yards. But he takes a pass because he deferred and assumed he'd have one more shot. LaFleur does what's actually considered the cowardly special teams play. And according to Pro Football Reference, it was a 97% cowardly play. So knowing his idea was that with 2 minutes and 2 seconds, he would have the 2-minute warning and 3 timeouts to try to slow down Tom Brady. But Matt LaFleur, have you been not watching football ever? Guys, come on. You give Tom Brady the ball, you don't get the ball back. And that's what happened. So at the end of the day, I feel like they got outcoached. I loved what Tampa Bay did. They played incredible and they stepped up. I still believe Green Bay's all across the board, arguably the best team, maybe outside of Kansas City. But you know what? Tampa Bay came to play. That end of the first half, that bomb, that really did it, man. How you gonna let him get a free touchdown? You play one robber safety? That was silly because they were worried about a field goal. Well, guess what? 7 points instead of 3. So really poor coaching. It's very disappointing. And I applaud Tampa Bay though. And actually, I'm rooting for Tampa Bay now, man. I'm not bandwagoning, but you know what, Tom Brady, you had 3 INTs. You're gonna be going against my homeboy. But if Tom Brady beats Aaron Rodgers and then Patrick Mahomes on a new team, that would be crazy to me. An NFC champion, that would be pretty cool. So at the end of the day, Matt LaFleur just got out coached. Green Bay has opportunities, but that's if Aaron Rodgers wants to stay. We'll have to see about that. Disappointing all around from Green Bay, but amazing job by Tampa Bay. They outplayed them and they outcoached them.
Yes. So just to go back off of what you said, Richie, because it wasn't just those 2 quarterbacks. He went through Drew Brees, he went through Aaron Rodgers, and now he has to go through Patrick Mahomes in his 10th Super Bowl to win his 7th ring.
At 43?
Whoa. Sahe, I'm coming your way. Tell me about this game. Bucks versus the Packers.
Yeah, everything Richie said was pretty much spot on, especially from the coaching point of view with Matt LaFleur. Kicking the field goal down there late in the game. Even I was expecting them to go for it. Of course, I didn't think they was going to get it, but I thought they would at least attempt. I guess I could see there was enough time. But you got Tom Brady on the other side. He's not giving you that ball back. And Richie's point that the Packers were the better team overall, I can't agree with you there. Because Tom Brady could have went to any team in the league in his free agency, but he picked the Buccaneers? Because he saw what I saw. He saw me. I was a fan, and I've been telling my friends for years, we're building something in Tampa Bay. You guys watch out. And it just happened to come together all at the right time. All at the right time. The schedule makers made it easy for us. I will admit they gave us the Vikings, the Falcons twice, and Matt Stafford's, ironically, sorry Lions at the end of the season. So we were rolling hot. And our tough task was the Redskins. I felt like if we were going to lose in the playoffs, it would be to them. Their D-line is amazing. And that's what you got to get pressure on Tom Brady to be successful. The Saints weren't able to do that, so we wiped through them. We played them twice. Though we lost, we were able to, correct it the third time. And it was just unfortunate that the Packers had to see us. Because the whole thing of boxing is styles make fights. Well, our style of play, they're never going to beat. The 2020 Packers and the Buccaneers can play 20 times. Maybe the Packers win 2 out of those 20 times. Because what I saw in the first matchup when we played them, I forget how many weeks ago, Rodgers looked terrible after his 2 interceptions. And he didn't really throw interceptions to anybody else. What we had the speed. We got Devin White. He runs like a 4.2 40. If you go on Madden, his speed's like a 92. All right, we got Levante David, one of the most underrated linebackers in the league. He should have been in like he's kind of like the Matthew Stafford of linebackers. He doesn't go into any Pro Bowls, but he puts up like tremendous stats, and he's been doing it consistently for years. So it's just showing up like in the playoffs. We've got our defense is playing lightning hot. People are like, wow, I didn't expect Tampa's defense to play like this. I didn't either. I thought they were losing it for a second. But yeah, like I'm getting Aaron Rodgers had 25 sacks all season, and we got to him 3 times or more in the first half. And one of my friends asked me, I wish I could pull it up, right before the game. He was like, what do you think? And I told him it's gonna be pressure on Aaron Rodgers if we could get it. And we were able to make it happen, and now we're in the Super Bowl. I can't wait. I could go on all night about how joyous and happy I am. Woo! But I'm coming back down to reality soon, because we do got to face the Chiefs, and I don't know how that's going to go at all.
Oh, don't worry about it. We've got 2 weeks before we even get into that discussion. But yes, you live on that high note. Marvin, I'm coming to you, my friend. Tell me what you took away from the Bucks and the Packers.
Well, I'm the opposite of Sahe. Y'all may not know this, but I was a Packers fan since I've been 6 years old. And I'm here to tell y'all today that the Packers suffer from what I like to call postseason bedwetting syndrome. And let me explain to y'all what that is. They've been to 5 NFC championships in the past decade and have lost all 5. In this game, they did what they did last year, beat themselves. They did what they did against the Falcons, beat themselves. They did what they did against the Seahawks, beat themselves. They did what they did against the 49ers twice, beat themselves. In this game, the Packers didn't even take advantage of Tom Brady throwing 3 interceptions. They just couldn't do it. And to Richie's credit, it came down to the coaching staff. That was probably one of the most boneheaded, idiotic plays that the Packers could ever come up with. It's classic Packers. That's just what they did. That's what they do. You know, I don't know what this culture is becoming. It's either it's take the fans, it's take all the listeners on this long ride throughout the whole season, this whole regular season highlight. They get to the postseason just to wet the bed. They may win a playoff game, but when they really matters the most, when Aaron Rodgers has a moment to prove that he is the best quarterback on that day over the GOAT, he couldn't seize it. He just couldn't do it. He couldn't do it against Jimmy Garoppolo, Matt Ryan, and even Colin Kaepernick, a quarterback that should have a job in this league. So to really look at this game, the Packers were at a disadvantage in the first half, losing Aaron Jones. That's what got them here. They've been a balanced offense, a balanced attack. I said at the beginning of the season, they look like one of the most complete teams in the NFL now because the defense was somewhat decent, but their run game had jelly written all over it. Leonard Fournette, 55 yards, with Ronald Jones tackle on 16. That may not look like much, but when you look at the Packers' rush defense over the course of the year, they were just soft. They couldn't stop anybody. That secondary was questionable, and Tom Brady, the GOAT, took advantage of that. I mean, nobody on the outside could cover Mike Evans. Nobody could stop Chris Godwin. I mean, you look at weapons all over Tampa Bay, and they took advantage.
Yes, sir. Justin, coming your way. Listen, the Buccaneers were without Antonio Brown. They have Antonio Brown potentially for the Super Bowl. What did you take away from the game without even having those weapons, at least having the weapons that they did have that Marvin said? Tell me what you took away from the Buccaneers versus the Packers.
I took away that a lot of people were ready and willing to give this game to Tom Brady. That's what I took away from it. And you know what? I think it's undeserved. I think that Tom Brady is what I've always said he is. He's a steady, great quarterback, but he's making he's making a lot of mistakes for Tom Brady. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not convinced. I don't think this is the best we've ever seen him. And I think some people do. I think some people are arguing on behalf of Tom Brady being in the best form of his life. And I think we're seeing late Tom Brady. Late Tom Brady is still better than anybody in this game. But I'm just saying, anybody on any given Sunday, and they've got to go against Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs, man. The Chiefs. We'll talk about it. But and then outside, everybody already said it, but Matt LaFleur, you're an idiot. You have to trust this quarterback. You have to trust Aaron Rodgers. You have to give him this opportunity, regardless of what's going on, regardless of what these last 3 plays look like. You've got to give him the shot. You owe it to him. And you lost the game. You lost another game. And I'm not going to put it all on you, but a lot of it, because I think we very well could have and should have seen Aaron Rodgers convert. Period.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda, we'll never know. And like you said, from the great philosopher DJ Khaled, another one that they lost, another one that they could have gone to the Super Bowl, another one that Aaron Rodgers could have been put into that category to be named the GOAT or whatever you may say, but it's not going to happen. So
it could have been his last. I mean, that's the thing. You owe it to the man, because we don't even know.
Aaron Rodgers' last.
That might have been his last showing at Lambeau Field. It should be his last NFC Championship game.
It should be, because we're all tired of seeing him in it and not getting over the hump. I mean, that was 2010. That was a long time ago.
I know a team in Pennsylvania, Aaron, where you can finish off your career. I know a great team in Pennsylvania.
Tell Lil Wayne to sit down somewhere. Nobody want to hear that damn song.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Look at his face. Ladies and gentlemen, only here at the wire. Moving on to the next game.
Hilarious.
You had Josh Allen, young stallion coming in, but he's going up against another young stallion that's trying to prove something, going to back-to-back Super Bowls, Kansas City Chiefs and the Bills. I'm going to go the other way, except for Justin. I won't start with you. I'm going to start with Marvin. Marvin, tell me about this game, Bills versus Chiefs.
Bills versus Chiefs. Where do I start? Well, the Chiefs got off to a slow start. But when you look at what they've been able to do the whole season, they've just been consistent. The Bills secondary couldn't stop Travis Kelce, and Pat Mahomes was able to scramble out of the pocket and do whatever he wanted to do. And on the Bills end, they just couldn't get Stephon Diggs. Going. It really spoke volumes to how many weapons they don't have. I mean, you got a great duo in Josh Allen, and that's going to be great for years to come. But when you really look at it, they didn't have enough. They didn't have enough to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs. So I felt that they were overwhelmed from the get-go. I didn't have them winning this game by a large margin. I thought it would be a lot closer. The Bills put up a hell of an effort, but you just can't. They just got steamrolled, which was expected. They couldn't stop anybody on the outside. The secondary gave up a lot of passing yards, and the Bills are just playing catch up the entire game, and you just can't win like that in the AFC Championship game. And the Chiefs are going back to back Super Bowls. Now, will they win? That's a question to still be said, but we'll see.
We'll see. That's right. He has the opportunity to go back to back, Marvin. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. So, I told you earlier that they were down by 9 points and I got a little scared. And then all of a sudden, I realized that aren't they down a lot anyway in the playoffs the last couple of years? They're 4-1. 4-1 when they're trailing by 10 points? And that one that they lost was in a regular season game. It wasn't even a playoff game. So, Sahe, tell me about what you took away from the Bills and the Chiefs. Take it away, my friend.
Well, I didn't really watch a lot of the game, understandably, guys. My team had just advanced to the Super Bowl. I had it on, but I was really in Facebook checking memes, making comments, making plans to head to Tampa for the game. So I had the Bills and the Chiefs playing in the background because I'm like, all right, let me watch and see who we get. I seen the Bills were up, so I was excited. I didn't really want to pay too much attention and kind of jinx it because I really wanted to see the Bills, understandably. And I'm like, yes, the Bills are doing it. They're winning it for us. And then I'm in my phone, I look up, and the Chiefs are up 3 scores. And I'm like, what happened? What happened? But it's just a testament to, and like you said, the Chiefs, they've been down in the playoffs before. That wasn't new territory for them. They know exactly what to do. And they're a squad that they're so scary because when they need to make a play, they make the play because they have the talent everywhere. They got Andy Reid drawing up all kind of plays. I don't know where he's getting them from. he's probably sees his mom in his dreams or something, like giving him the alley-oop like in semi-pro, like writing up all these plays for him, and they just get it done. So it wasn't a surprise to me that they won. They're the best team in the league. They got Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, who can throw it all over the field, and he's just mobile enough to extend plays, and he's super accurate. Like what can you do? You just got to hope they make a mistake, and they don't. So,
well, they made a mistake early, and he redeemed himself by a great end around. And then also he scored, I don't know his name, if anybody can tell me, number 7, I think it is, or 17 or something like that. But yeah, Richie.
Mikael Hardman. Thank you very much.
That's why they're here. You see it right now. Richie, coming to you. The Bills. You picked the Bills versus the Chiefs because you didn't want to jump on the bandwagon with everybody else. You wanted a chance to kind of move up in points. But tell me what you took away from the game.
What I took away from the game is, first of all, I love to see Kansas City. As soon as he made that fumble, they're patting him on the back, and you know what? Like, that's what you need out of teammates, first of all. Let's talk about the Bills. We don't need to talk about Kansas City. We're going to talk about them in a minute anyway. What I will say, though, is Kansas City, you got to look out. You just lost your left tackle to an Achilles. Your left tackle and right tackle are out. We'll talk about that for the Super Bowl. To me, this is on Josh Allen. What I was saying so much, Allen had that magic. He's won 8 in a row. And we talk about how incredible he is. But, just like we, and mostly the media, gets on Lamar Jackson, you got to get on Josh Allen. You have a 37-yard sack because he's scrambling backwards. This is the type of stuff, being 24 years old and not understanding the situation and not having the awareness. He went 28 for 48 passing. He was pedestrian. And honestly, you can't be pedestrian against Kansas City, to Sahe's point. Stephon Diggs really disappointed me. Cole Beasley, he's great. Cole Beasley is very underrated, and he's their slot receiver. Cole Beasley broke his fibia. He broke his leg when Honey Badger hit him. He played the game out, and he had more yards than Stephon Diggs. Like, to me, that's the moral of the story. You don't have as many weapons, so you got to play perfect. And they just didn't play perfect, and it is what it is. Josh Allen's still a great quarterback, and he'll have an opportunity, but the defense did not let down Buffalo. Kansas City is going to score 30 plus. But Buffalo's offense, which is the only thing they have no rushing game. Their defense isn't great, in my opinion, when you're talking about the top level. Like, they're not the Buccaneers. Hell, they're not even Kansas City's defense. They're certainly not Green Bay's defense. So this is on Josh Allen, and to a smaller extent, Stephon Diggs. Just not the performance they needed. But, honestly, to be expected. Kansas City are the champs for a reason. And I think Sahe said it best, and I'll just say it one more time. You got to play perfect against them because, in my opinion, they have the 2 best wide receivers in football, and they're on the same team, and Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, he's like, when I was 12 and I played Madden and I did all those stupid plays that shouldn't work where you run backwards and dumb shit like that and then you get a touchdown. That's Tyreek Hill in like real life. It doesn't make sense. You can't scheme against that. There is nothing you can't scheme against a guy who takes 3 steps and then he goes the other direction. He reminds me of Barry Sanders in how quick his lateral movement is, and he runs 4.2. And he runs a real 4.2, not just like a combine 4.2. This guy is easily the fastest guy in the league, and it's about time people show him respect, because not only is his speed, but his agility and his route running. This guy is incredible. He averaged almost 20 yards a catch, yes, with that 70-yard catch, but nonetheless, he's a threat at all times. Travis Kelce is going to be down the center at all points. Buffalo's defense is never going to stop that. Them getting 38 is expected. Buffalo having 10 points and not producing after that and having the botched fumble. Kansas City was giving it to them, realistically. But I secretly think, to Tony's point, Kansas City loves to throw the game and be behind, because that's when they play their best. They're not front runners. They're always behind. They're behind it in the Super Bowl last year. It's what they do. They get behind, and all of a sudden the magic starts. And honestly, we'll talk about it in the Super Bowl, but there's only one strategy Tampa Bay can do to beat Kansas City. But overall, Kansas City, the better team, won. Should have happened from the get-go. Josh Allen hopefully can learn from this, and we'll see. Maybe Stephon Diggs and him will have some more magic. But nothing to take away from Buffalo. They're a great team, but they're not the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, most of the NFL isn't the Kansas City Chiefs. So Buffalo, good job to you. Sad, but it's reality. It happened. We'll see what happens next season. See if you can make it back to the playoffs, which I think you probably should, unless Matthew Stafford goes and plays in New England. And then I don't think that's going to, no, I'm just messing with you. I just want to stir some controversy. I'm just being fun, and it's okay. I do take Tyreek Hill and I make him my quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I just do runs. I just do shotgun, Hail Mary, and I run. And then I have a wide receiver do a slant. They come across the middle. If he's open, I'll throw it because he'll make the throw. But anyway, we'll move on. Justin, Bills, Kansas City Chiefs. What's the takeaway?
I mean, it's everything that we thought it would be. This is my opinion. I think out of all the teams in the AFC, this is the only team that was going to put 24 points on the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFC AFC Championship. I think the Bills were the best suited for it. I don't think they had a terrible game, but it's one of those teams. If we're going to just keep talking about Madden, it's one of those teams you're not allowed to pick. You're not allowed to have. And since we're talking about Madden, they're great. EA Sports has done a great job of improving that game. They don't have an algorithm that is as OP as Kansas City. They don't have a way to make that real. They don't have a way to actualize that powerhouse. Sahe said it best. They got to screw up. You got to capitalize. Buffalo, you tried. I mean, you made a valiant effort, had a wonderful season. Definitely much better than another team in the AFC that I root for. Just wasn't enough. Like Marvin said it. It's not enough. I don't know. I'm sure we're gonna have the discussion. I don't know if Tampa Bay's even enough. I don't know if anybody's enough. I mean, any given Sunday is really what we're talking about now. It needs to be that given fucking Sunday to beat Kansas City. That's my takeaway. I think that they are, without a doubt, Sahe said it. I mean, everybody's right. They're the best team in the league. You just got to upset them.
And if anybody can do it, it would be that defense on Tampa Bay if they show up to kind of to stir the pot. And Tom Brady, if you manage the game, if you do what you're supposed to do, if you give it to your playmakers, this to me is either going to be the greatest Super Bowl we've ever seen, or it's going to be the worst Super Bowl that we've ever seen. It's one or the other. There's no in between for me personally. But with that, moving on, unless anybody else has something to say.
I was just going to say, there is one other time, there's plenty of these, but one time that sticks out in my mind that feels just like this is when the Patriots are in the AFC with Tom Brady and all the talent behind him and everybody and the momentum. You have to hope that Tom Brady blows that game in order for anyone to come out and beat the Patriots when they look that hot. And so to your point, I think, between the Bucs defense and Brady, there's a chance to make that happen, but it is not a small task.
All right, I'm coming at you rapid fire, so be ready. Marvin, I'm coming right to you. Deshaun Watson reportedly reveals ranked order of teams he wants Texans to trade him to. Where do you think Deshaun Watson should be playing next year?
San Francisco 49ers.
Elaborate.
49ers because the 49ers have a stacked defense, and you have a young budding receiver in Brandon Ayuk. You got a good wide receiver core there. You got a solid run game. You got George Kittle, one of the best tight ends in the game next to Travis Kelce. There isn't any other tight end that's better than those two. I think that's the best fit.
All right. Coming at you, Sahe. This is from CBS Sports. 5 early 2021 Super Bowl predictions. Tyreek Hill wins Super Bowl MVP after big performance and more. What's your takeaway on Tyreek Hill being the Super Bowl MVP? If he is, and if not, who is your Super Bowl MVP before the game even happens?
Oh, Tyreek Hill, not the Super Bowl MVP, not at all. He'll have a lot of yards, but I'm going to predict he won't score any touchdowns. Super Bowl MVP, I'm going to go... Let's go, Jason Pierre-Paul, JPP. He gets
all
a
right,
strip sack fumble for a touchdown.
Yeah, JPP, I like it. Strip sack, ran back for a touchdown, add in about 2 more sacks, a tipped interception. Hell, he's going to be the All right, Richie, I'm coming at you. Listen, Aaron Rodgers played in the NFC Championship. Marvin alluded to it. He's lost. He's 0 for 5. 0 for 5. Was that the last time that we see Aaron Rodgers play in Green Bay?
Hell no. He said what he said to make a point to the general manager who drafted a quarterback and traded up to draft a quarterback. Like, it was just a statement, right? Like, that, to me, that's how I view it. I think he's going to play for Green Bay again, but I really wish he'd play for a different team. Kind of what Marvin said about Deshaun. I'd love to see him in San Francisco, return to Berkeley, where he played college and where he's from, quite frankly. I would love to see that. Marvin already made the points why, but I believe he will stay in Green Bay at least until his contract is up.
Awesome. And I'm sorry I'm not going to be able to get this to everybody, but I'm sure that, everyone's going to have an opinion on it. Justin, I leave this one for you. LeBron James has been to 10 NBA finals. Tom Brady is going to his 10th NBA final. Tom Brady has upped LeBron James with 6 Super Bowls, potentially 7 Super Bowls. I'm just talking about championships. I know LeBron doesn't have Super Bowls, but championship wins. Is Tom Brady, in your opinion, the greatest athlete of all time?
No.
Elaborate.
Tom Brady is one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback of all time. But athletes is broad. I think he's been dominant, and he's been a part of some really great organizations that know how to utilize his extreme, unnatural, alienistic talent. But no, I don't even think he's a better athlete than LeBron James.
All right. Thank you. Coming back at you, Sahe. We got the time. We're going to go defense. I know you like defense. Okay.
Yep.
The Pittsburgh Steelers have an option. They have to sign Mike Hilton, Bud Dupree, okay, or Cam Sutton, which is a cornerback. You might not know about Pittsburgh, but in your opinion, which of those 3 players should the Pittsburgh Steelers definitely sign? And if you don't want defense, there's also Juju Smith-Schuster on there as well.
I'll stick with the defense, and I'll go Bud Dupree, even though he had the ACL injury. But pairing him with TJ Watt is what you need. You don't find edge rushers too often. So if you got a good one, you got to keep them. You can get good corners either in free agency or in the draft. And you probably would want young secondary. And they got Mika Fitzpatrick and Hayden already. So they're pretty solid on the back end. But they are going to need that pass rusher.
All right. Marvin, I'm coming at you real quick. Listen, we lost a great this last week. Okay, we're gonna go outside of the NFL. We're going into the MLB. Hank Aaron passed away. Okay, just give us your feelings on when you heard the news and what that really means to the MLB nation to lose a great like that.
Oh man, it's tragic, but you really take a moment to reflect on such a legend, pioneer in the game. Someone who really set the bar and broke a lot of barriers in a sense. Being what he was able to accomplish. I even know for myself, being a kid, that was a documentary I watched was a Hank Aaron documentary, and I wasn't fully able to understand it, but I just knew how great he was, and just knew how important of an impact he had on some of the players some of the greats today. Barry Bonds, King Griffey Jr. The list goes on. He had that impact on those guys, and for what he was able to do for the community in Atlanta, it just unmatched. And we lost a great.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Richie Phillips, I'm coming at you. Listen, in today's NFL, it seems like everybody had to go through Tom Brady, right? The last 10 years or so. Actually, it's been the last 22 something years, but they went on a stretch where they didn't win any. Is it going to be hard for Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen to win a Super Bowl or even get to the Super Bowl if they have to go through Patrick Mahomes for the next 9 years?
That's a great question. Honestly, this is going to be hard to just analyze instantly. I'll say this much. As much as I like Josh Allen, as much magic as he has, if Lamar Jackson gets somebody besides Hollywood Brown, I fully believe he's a different cat. Same beast, like Kobe Bryant said it before. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback, the best thrower. He can also run. He's super mobile. But Lamar is right up there in terms of quarterbacks. Now, he doesn't have the same skill set, but that's the point. Around his skill set with that defense, I feel like he's the only one who has a chance. I don't believe Josh Allen will ever outgun Patrick Mahomes, but I do believe Lamar Jackson, with his incredible playmaking and ability to control the clock, has the opportunity to not let him on the field. And I think he's the only guy that has a chance.
All right, thank you. Coming at you before we end the show, Justo, real quick, you got about 30 seconds. Is Matthew Stafford better than Ben Roethlisberger?
Oh my gosh. No. Overall, no, because we don't have enough time to break that all the way down. But overall, no.
Okay, you heard it here.
It's pretty close. Just for some behind the fourth wall, it's pretty damn close. But I still have to give it to Ben.
All right. You have to give it to Ben. He's a 2-time winning Super Bowl champion. So I understand where you're going with that. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching The Wire. Next week, we will pick who will win the Super Bowl. But for this week, we say bye-bye, farewell. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. I had to get you with that.